Hello, I'm James Cridland, the radio futurologist, and this is Radioland, my international radio trends newsletter from radioland.email. And this podcast is sponsored by RSS.com. You can get this podcast with no ads in Apple Podcasts. Just look in Apple Podcasts for more details on that. I can do that because RSS.com has added that functionality automatically. It also sells ads otherwise. And RSS.com also has nice APIs, so you can get your playout system to interface with that, and that is a good thing. So it's worth a peek. Now, the big news going on this week in radio is SiriusXM and iHeart Media, which are in talks to merge, according to Variety. The news was initially the subject of a set of reports by Bloomberg. Now, from a podcast point of view, merging the two means one network, 3,422 shows, which is around 207 million downloads and views a month, but Spotify remains bigger. According to the Podscribe ranker, that's only until SiriusXM starts representing YouTube's audio advertising later this year. Both iHeart and SiriusXM have of course, significant radio businesses. I mean, duh. And in fact, SiriusXM's podcast stuff is about 25% of their overall revenue. iHeart's podcast stuff is 14% of their overall revenue, as I've worked it out, more numbers in the newsletter. One of the interesting things around this deal, if it goes through, is, well, what happens with Global? Because Global, who of course own DAX and Captivate in the podcast side, but Heart and Capital and LBC and the radio side and a few others. Global is interesting because Global owns 32% of iHeart Media. Very quietly, they've been buying lots of shares of that. Now, in 2020, the FCC allowed iHeart Media to be 100% foreign-owned. And on March the 5th this year, the FCC has allowed an application from iHeart Media, I discover, that Bahamas-based Global Media and Entertainment Investments Limited could transfer their shares over to the UK-based Global Media Investments Limited. That is a thing that may help Global get a little bit closer still to iHeart. But what would a merger mean? And perhaps this might be a bit of a prod for Global to get the rest of the funding sorted so that they can buy iHeart Media. Who knows? By the way, so far as I can work out, SiriusXM is actually bigger than iHeart Media in terms of size of company. It's quite difficult to know what's going on with SiriusXM because, of course, they sell hardware and they also own Pandora. Pandora is frankly doing very well, but it used to do much better. But even so, that is still a big part of SiriusXM's business. But if Global do have a spare 45 million quid, they could do worse than buy ARN, which is Australia's iHeart brand partner, although the legal liabilities may add a little more to the bill. ARN has just countersued Kyle and Jackie O. You can read the full court papers in Mumbrella, which is worthwhile. As I understand it, transcripts of recordings made while the songs were on. It's a thing that happens, certainly in Australian radio, that they just keep everything recording. They use some of that for socials. Sometimes they pluck stuff out of that and put that on the air, but it turns out that there's a tape running on all of those. If you're next to a microphone, it's always live. Yes, that is very clearly being used against them. Also, Jackie O has been apparently finding some media lawyers and some psychological lawyers and things talking about her relationship with Kyle. It's all going off the rails there. The new Aussie ratings also came out, but caution on reading those because half of those ratings are from dates when Kyle and Jackie were still on the air. So actually, they don't tell us very much of the story. Frankly, I think if you're going to look at the Australian survey numbers, then you can ignore them because the real ones to compare will be out on June the 11th. Now, if you have an iPhone, an iPad, or a Mac OS device, then Playdio is a nice-looking radio player app for those devices. There's some quite clever bits in there which allow the service to let you bookmark songs you like direct to Apple Music. It works on CarPlay as well. There's no ads in there. There is a premium service with a few more features in there. The one thing that I noticed having a quick play is that the radio station database is a bit of a mess, to be honest. Now, there is an open IPTV database, and I wonder whether there is an open streaming radio database that would allow people like Playdio to focus on an app rather than focus on a database. And I must be missing one, because if there's an open TV database, there must be an open radio database as well. So I'd love to know, if you wouldn't mind. james@crid.land is my email address. Farewell to James Valentine, radio presenter for ABC Radio Sydney, who died last week following a cancer diagnosis. He was 64. I'd met him a few times. He was always friendly, down to earth for me. He was always good at laughing at my jokes, which always makes somebody feel good. If you want to hear a bit more about James Valentine, then the ABC's Ben Latimer is speaking with Wade Kingsley in The Quarter Hour, which you can find at thequarterhour.com to hear that. In the UK, Radio Centre has released a full report on the benefits of advertising on multi-platform audio. The report suggests that if you allocate 25% of your total media spend to audio, you get 9% more return on investment. Might be handy to take a peek and see whether your market could do with that too. AM costs a lot to run, but then so do mobile networks, and astonishingly the UK's Telegraph newspaper is suggesting that access to mobile phone networks in the UK may have to be rationed because electricity is costing more after the war in Iran. It's all the Labour government's fault, apparently, although everything is, if you read the Telegraph. Fascinating read. If you think the future is streaming, well, have a quick peek at that. Sam Litzinger has posted a 29-minute personal history of CBS News Radio, which is going away on May the 22nd. Plenty of stories about Sam's time in radio news in that. It's worth a listen. There's quite a lot of nice archive in there as well. In the UK, Global has integrated its radio stations with Amazon Ads, which is very clever. The integration will include its podcast later on in the year. And where am I speaking next? Well, I'll tell you where I'm speaking next. I'm speaking at the podcast show in London. I'll be keynoting at that event. I'll be recording a Pod News Weekly review as well, and also moderating a panel about research. Please come along to that. Thepodcastshowlondon.com is where to buy tickets. If you use the code PODNEWS10, you can save yourself 10%. And why not? I will also be at Forward, the Western Canada Media Conference in Kelowna in British Columbia in early June, and at Radio Days in Asia. I will be there in early September. Jakarta in Indonesia. No, she went of her own accord. So I'm looking forward to being there. There's a whole day around podcasts and a day and a half around radio. Well, 2 days around radio, really. Yes, very much looking forward to being over there and to do that. Now, thank you to the many supporters. Thank you to you for listening. Obviously, I have just had a jam sandwich, which is why I keep on swallowing. Note to self, don't have a jam sandwich. That's a silly idea. Anyway, thank you to the many supporters of this newsletter. Jacquard, Brun Audio Consulting Limited. Thank you, Rupert. Radio King, Admaster.info and RSS.com for your kind support. Plus, Daffith Furnham, Marty from New York, Gavin Watson, Greg Strassel, Sam Phelps, Richard Hilton, Emma Gibbs, Jocelyn Abbey and James Masterton, all for being regular supporters. If you would like to support my work in any way, you can buy me a coffee. Buymeacoffee.com/James Cridland is where to go. You can become a member to give regularly, or just give a one-off coffee, or $5 or or 10. I don't think the UX lets you do 10. It's probably just 5. But anyway, that is all good. If you would like to get this newsletter, this podcast in your inbox instead, then that's good. Radioland.email is where to sign up for that. And my website has more details about who I am and what I do and whether I can help you further. To go to the front page, it's james.cridland.net. And until next time, keep listening.